Good day, and welcome to the first devlog for Netscape Cybermind. I haven't done a whole lot of these in the past because I usually don't update my games once I finish them. However, there was a lot of positive reception from the 7-day FPS demo, and a lot of you have left incredibly helpful feedback. So for the time being, I intend to regularly update Netscape Cybermind with updates that add new content and polish existing features. I will be recording my progress along with that of various members of my team in order to keep you informed about some of the exciting stuff we have coming up soon. So with that being said, let's begin. So you're probably wondering exactly what I plan to do with Netscape Cybermind now that 7-day FPS is over. Well, I always planned to finish up the content, fix bugs, and polish various features after the jam was over, but I wasn't totally sure exactly what form that would take. Other than fixing bugs, I was a little directionless, so I took some time to organize my thoughts and come up with a plan. My first thought was the levels. In the current build, they're functional, but don't really stick out apart from their visuals. My plan is to overhaul and remake every level in the current build, and in order to do that, I've brought on an individual who has some experience with both programming and level design. It was important to me to bring someone familiar with the tools games like Half-Life use to create their levels. I wanted somebody who's been in the community for a long time, but was also familiar with Unity. In addition to helping me redesign every level currently in the project, they will also be helping to add additional content to the game. On top of everything else, they'll also be helping me to overhaul various systems in the game, like the character controller and the AI. Allow me to let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a trans woman, she, her, and I've been brought on to Netscape Cybermind to work on some things such as programming, design, and level design. I plan on doing a lot to Netscape Cybermind to make it a little bit more fun to play on the whole, and in this next patch, or this patch that has just been released at time of this video's release, you'll start to see the start of that. You might notice that the player controls a little bit differently now. That is my work. I have done slight modifications to some of how the player moves, and I think it feels a lot better than it did. Since that's done, I plan on starting to implement some of my more sweeping changes I want to go into. This includes modification to the AI, a completely rewritten player movement system, and of course, new levels. With the levels, I want to make them more interesting, more dynamic, and on the whole, more fun. Of course, the levels that are in range from being very fun to being kind of bored to go through. So the hope is that eventually it'll be over here where they're even more fun. I hope on making it more set-piece focused and more dynamic and more reactive to what you do. I hope that you're excited for all that I have to show and do for Netscape Cybermind. Without further ado, back to you, Josh.
Alright, time to get into the real meat and potatoes of the devlog. I've been working a ton on various features for the game. I'd like to keep myself extremely busy. The first thing I said about improving was the tutorial. Right now, in the release build, it's just a bunch of ugly f***ing text telling you what to do. I hate it. To me, this just felt devoid of all life and literally no different than just posting the instructions on the game's page. So I set out to make something a little more engaging for the time being. I was deeply inspired by the look of late 90s and early 2000s employee workplace safety videos, and I decided to try and emulate that while doing a little bit of world building in the process. Thus, Eller's video was born.
Hello! So you've decided to enter the Netscape. This is a big day for you. Proprietary technology of the Ehlers Corporation has made cyberspace a place both easy to navigate and fun to serve. In order to ensure the safety and security of our customers, we provide a one-time training course absolutely free of charge in order to make cyberspace your favorite cyber place. If you are already familiar with the operational parameters of cyberspace navigation, then simply take the path to your left in order to skip the optional training seminar. Otherwise, take the path to the right and we can begin your journey into surfing the net like a pro.
This series of videos currently plays on a monitor during gameplay to teach you basic concepts about the game. I'm extremely proud of the vibe I captured here, and while in the future I want to make it more similar to the Half-Life Hazard course, these videos do an excellent job of establishing what Ellers is, what VR is and how it works, and teaches the basic mechanics of the game. Additionally, a lot of people said they wanted to be able to skip the tutorial, so I gave the option in the form of a path you can take in the tutorial that takes you straight to the end. This is of course provided you know how to actually use the platforming mechanics. I feel like it creates a nice diegetic way of skipping the tutorial that adds a little more immersion than a button prompt. Now, a lot of this tutorial might change in the future, but I'm pretty happy with the direction it's going in right now. So what did I set out to do next? Well, did you know there's actually a Watchdog style hacking mechanic already in the release version of Netscape Cybermind? No? Well, I don't blame you. It literally appears once in the tutorial, and most people manage to make the jump without having to use it. And those that did forgot about it because it doesn't make an appearance anywhere else in the demo. So I set about rectifying that. This involved a lot of iteration, but the first thing I wanted to do was add more hackables. Stuff the player would have a good reason to interact with in the environment. One of the first things I made was a little transistor. I liked the idea of placing these around the environment in places they could actually be useful. They can be used to destroy enemies or propel yourself into areas you might not otherwise be able to reach. I was pretty proud of the effect, and it's very satisfying to use them on enemies. Now, transistors are fine and all, but I wanted something with a little more utility. So the next hackable I worked on was the loot box. These can of course be purchased from the in-game marketplace with real money in order to give you an advantage in-game for only $2 a pop. Nah, I'm just f***ing with you. These will serve as a replacement for some of the scattered armor, health, and ammo pickups throughout the levels. Now, these boxes won't make the mistake of Half-Life 2 where they just give you whatever you're low on. Each box will have its contents hand-picked. This prevents crates from just being generic ammo fillers, and this allows us to better author content based on the level rather than the player state. It should also all around make for a much more consistent experience and provide a decent use for the hacking system. So I started by modeling the crate, texture it using real images of various dials and computer parts, and voila, you have yourself a nice little box. These of course spawn supplies for the player, and I added some decent effects and sounds to make opening them a little more satisfying. So my next thought was that you shouldn't just be able to hack everything all the time. Hacking needs to be done with consideration, but not so limited as to render it pointless. With the help of the others on my team, we've devised a system of tiered hacks. Basically, hacks now cost a player resource, that's this bar here, and some hacks will be more expensive and rarer than others. This gives us the freedom to have certain pathways blocked by the hacking system, allowing for more replayability in levels and also allowing us to add a bit of a resource management component to the game. The final addition I made to the hacking system was to use Unity's animator property and this line of code here to play a nice, fluid animation of the hand while you're hacking. I really wanted to get more use out of the third arm the player has, and this was a nice opportunity to expand on that concept. All around, a lot of new sounds have been added as well. Hacking, and the shotgun rack are the most notable. In addition to this, I've been wanting to address some of the issues people had with some of the weapons. Here, take a look and take a guess what weapon this is. If you said shotgun, you would be incorrect. It's actually a sniper. Turns out when you give no indication what a weapon is, people tend to be a little confused. This can actually be aimed, but as it didn't really look like a sniper, people confused it and the shotgun constantly. To remedy this, I've added a scope to the sniper. Notice how nice the scope down view looks. Rather than just being zoomed in, I liked the idea of mimicking a low quality display which gives a very unique feel to the weapon. Additionally, I added a new sound for the sniper fire as well. Before, it kinda sounded like a mattress hitting concrete, but now it has some power and weight behind it. I've also added tracers to the weapons. This is in an attempt to give more feedback on what you're hitting and where you're aiming. People often said the weapons felt nice, but didn't give a lot of feedback. And now the effect is subtle, but it very much gives weapons more weight and allows you to be more accurate with your shots. This was achieved using a particle system alongside a script that will pull and create particles going in specific directions. This way, the tracers actually line up with the direction the bullet is traveling. All around, this isn't everything I want to do with weapons in the long run, but it's a decent start to getting them back on the right track. Alright, so for the last thing we'll probably cover for today. Do you remember in the release build that tube at the beginning of the tutorial? That was actually, at one point, supposed to be a whole system where you could use these tubes to explore levels throughout the game. Unfortunately, the whole thing is a f***ing lie. One, I was having to manually model and unwrap these cylinders in Blender, then painstakingly thread the path through the model, and even then I could only enter this tube at the beginning and end. So, with the help of Sebastian Log's tutorials on mesh creation and some examples on his Path Creator GitHub page, I now generate and unwrap the mesh in the editor. In addition to this, you can now enter Netscape tubes at any point along the tube rather than just the beginning or the end. It doesn't seem like much, but it was a royal pain in the ass to get working properly. Hopefully this will now allow us to design bigger, interesting levels with more verticality. Well, that's all for now. I still have a lot of work I want to do in regards to gameplay, namely giving the AI some love and making it an actual challenge to fight. Next episode, I want to discuss some of the philosophies behind the level design and start to construct a better flow of levels. Until next time, I'll see you in the Netscape.